It was close, but I'm calling the model I built for the 2024 Motorcycle Group Build project complete on the last day of the year. All of the kit-supplied chrome plating was removed using super clean degreaser, and chrome surfaces were recreated using Alclad's two-part system consisting of the gloss black base followed by their chrome lacquer. This system works very well to reproduce chrome in miniature, although it does require the use of an airbrush. A selection of clear colors from the Tamiya line were used, with orange for turn signal lenses, red for the tail light, and yellow to simulate discoloration on the exhaust pipes where they exit the cylinder heads. A metallic silver Sharpie marker was a tool I found very useful for touching up bolt heads on many different areas of the model. And the project wasn't without its setbacks. Just before installation of the front fork assembly, I managed to break off the right-hand turn signal. Due to the very small gluing surface, it wasn't feasible to just try and glue the turn signal back on, so I decided to replace the turn signal stem with wire. Using a micrometer, the existing stem was measured and found to be 0.35 inch in diameter, or just under 1 millimeter. The plastic turn signal stem was removed, the fork clamp cleaned up, then a hole was drilled 2/1000 of an inch diameter larger than the wire that would be used for the new turn signal stem. This required the use of a number 63 drill, and the turn signal also had the broken end cleaned up and a number 63 hole drilled for the new mounting stem. By the time the turn signal had been filed, drilled, and the new mounting stem glued in place, much of the Alclad finish was worn off. Super Clean was used to remove the remaining Alclad, and then the tail light was sprayed with the gloss black base as the first step of the two-part Alclad process. After the gloss black had cured for a few hours, the chrome was applied, and this is where the Alclad magic takes place and the chrome shine appears. Repaired signal light is glued back in place, and thankfully this is the only one of the four that got broken during assembly of the model. On the bottom surface of the instrument panel, there were 4 large round holes on the forward portion, which I filled with styrene rod before sanding them smooth. The 2 sink marks on the lower portion I wasn't worried about, because this will all be hidden once it's glued in place on top of the forks. I found it was easier to simply file off that raised bump in the center of the instrument panel and then restore it with styrene strip rather than trying to sand around it. I also used small bolt head castings to simulate the fasteners holding the gauges in place. There were 3 large sink marks on the visible face of the instrument panel. These looked challenging at first, but were actually quite easy to fix. Instead of trying to fill and sand these areas, I simply covered them with pieces cut from thin shim brass. The brass is only 0.03 of an inch in thickness, and thus I was able to retain the raised lip around both of the gauges. With the addition of paint and decals, the instrument panel is quite presentable. I also added a small disc punched from thin sheet aluminum to simulate the ignition cylinder. Microscale's Krystal Klear is a product I find very useful for attaching both clear parts, painted items, and those finished with Alclad. It dries clear, so if a small amount of glue does get on a visible surface, it won't be noticeable, and being water soluble, it's easy to clean up. For stability while displaying the model, I decided to build it with the center stand in the down position. Although it's non-functional, I did add a representation of the return spring using 2 small plastic eye bolts and a spring coiled from fine craft wire. A simple CAD program was used to draw the license plate, which was then printed on glossy photo paper, cut out, and glued to the license plate holder. A pair of styrene rivet heads simulate carriage bolts, and the Ontario KS370 is actually a license plate I was issued for my first bike, which was a Yamaha, a 400 Maxim 2-cylinder. The December 24 sticker is of course a nod to having this model done on the last day of December 2024. When I first became involved with the group build, I found this picture online, and it served as both reference and inspiration throughout the project. Due to a combination of rain and snow, outdoor photos weren't possible today, and we're probably a good 4 to 5 months away from having leaves on the trees. So here's a similar picture taken indoors. I had a lot of fun building this model, and I'd like to thank the hosts who organized this group build, Cliff at GI Mechanics Scale Modeling and Jamie G's Scalemodelgarage. Thanks again, guys, for getting me outside of my normal modeling comfort zone. I'm looking forward to the 2025 group build, and although deadline pressure was helpful getting this one done, I do plan to try to get the 2025 model done a little bit before the last day of the year.